Professor, yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you in person. This is your first time in Gdańsk, first in
It's
Poland?
first time in Gdansk, not the first time in Poland. I was giving some technical and university lectures in that town in southwestern
Wrocław.
Wrocław
Yeah.
that I have some trouble pronouncing. Sorry about my Polish or absence of Polish.
Yeah, we also have trouble pronouncing some Danish or Scandinavian words.
I know.
Okay. You mentioned in an interview 3 years ago, you mentioned that philosophy is very important, that you cannot design a good language system without philosophy. Can you elaborate on this quote?
Yeah, I mean, a language does reflect the philosophy. In my case, I've read some philosophy, I read some sociology, I read some history, and that has some effects on what I think is important and what I think is to be emphasized. You heard my talk, those pictures with people on it, and the emphasis on programming being done for people, by people. You have to remember this. This is not just a piece of sort of maths done by a few geniuses. It's a group of effort in many cases, and you have to remember things about reliability and maintainability has social implications, and I think about those. And so, for instance, I have a great distrust of grand systems and perfect systems. I'm much more into gradual improvement and into sometimes piecemeal improvement with a focus on the users, focus on the teams that build it, which is different from some people's background. And I think that's a philosophical thing. I think that's a thing that comes from experience with non-math, non-technical issues. That's where it comes from.
Okay. In the history, I find that C++ evolution was kind of philosophy that focused on the users, on programmers, rather than so the user write a code that is easy to read, easy to maintain, but he's not focusing on optimization during the writing a code because this is the task of compiler.
Yes, that's right. I'm focusing on expressing ideas and having them developed into close to optimal code. This is not trying to optimize the number of people who can do it. I do not want the brakes of my car programmed by an amateur. I want an engineer. And so I'm trying to provide a tool for the people who can actually write good code, who has the education, the knowledge of the application domain to make this work. And the application domains I think about are often things that are essential to people, like the communication from your cell phone, the brakes of your car, the software that transfers your salary into your bank account. And of course, yeah, some of those are life-threatening. Some of them, if you get them wrong, some of them are key to society. And I think about that. But I am not trying, I hear that the aim of Python is to allow everybody to write programs. But the kind of programs I was talking about, the kind of programs I'm thinking most about, shouldn't be written by everybody.
Exactly.
And there's lots of programs that should be, but they're just not my key interest.
What do you think about the future of programming? You got the question from the audience that there is this trend that the AI is able to write or hint you with the code.
I think and I hope that the programming world will sort of either split or stretch into two different camps. The sort of the experts, the engineers, and the more casual users and people writing simple applications for simple, non-critical users. And I think the experts will be very tool-heavy and do novel and interesting things, whereas the other limit is that they will basically select among alternatives provided by the experts. But the idea that programming is one thing that you see in a lot of educational contexts and a lot of explanations in the press, I think is fundamentally wrong. There's a difference between a design engineer and a mechanic. There's a difference between the mechanic and the driver. You have to have that understanding of the different roles in the system and have that embedded into the tool chains, into the languages, into the teaching.
So the future for C++ is bright and safe, and there will be
I think so, yes. I mean, if you see that graph there, the number of C++ programmers as a percentage of the total number of programmers in the world has probably been steady decreasing for decades. And the number of C++ programmers have gone up steadily over the decades. And this is not a contradiction. It is a reflection that the community is larger and the community is specializing. C++ is more dominant in its key domains than it's ever been, and smaller of the total number of programmers than it's ever been.
Thank you very much for the questions. That was a pleasure to meet you in person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And